Hey, all. So glad that we're able to get back together here. Glad you're joining me. I have something important to share with you today. If you grew up with a father, whether it's a biological father, a stepfather, and you still ended up in a bad relationship, a relationship where you were ill treated, maltreated by a man or a partner, if you have children and you are or were in a situation where your children were abused, whether physically or other ways, if you're settling right now in this present moment for a relationship or circumstances with someone that either you say you care about, or they're claiming to care about you, or that you mutually say you love each other, but they are calling you out your name. They are using negative verbiage towards you. All right. Using obscenities daily, multiple times in a day, in an hour, regularly. And you feel like it's okay, or you're accepting it, or you feel like it's not okay. But you don't know a way out of the situation, and you stay because of financial abuse. Okay. Or you stay because you realize or may perceive that there's no way out. There's nowhere to go. You don't feel safe returning home, or you don't have a home to return to. Or you have children with you and you can't go anywhere that the children will be safe or accepted or not further abused. Whether it's a friend, another friend, family. Realize that your father has failed you. And I'm not talking about father above. I'm talking about your biological father or stepfather or whoever raised you, adopted father, have failed you. They failed you. They are the leaders who were supposed to teach you how to spot a predator, because in this life, that is what we're facing. There is prey. There are predators. There are violators. There are scammers, people who would take advantage of your naivete, your gullibility. Okay, the fact that you were not taught, the fact that you were not instructed, the fact that you were not guided, directed in the areas of love, romantic relationships, even sometimes platonic friendships can be abusive. You can be abused in work relationships. But your father is the person who was supposed to steer you in the right direction. Being a man, your father being a man. Well, you have to excuse me for a second. I have a little cough and sniffle, but sorry. Your father being a man knows men. Generally speaking, most men know men. Whether your father, you consider him a good man or a not so good man. He may have been abusive himself, or he may have come across as a good man to you, appear good to you in your innocence. Some people also accept their father because they were daddy's little girl, or they want to continue to be daddy's girl. I'm not talking about a sugar daddy or a sugar papa or anything like that. I'm talking about biological father or stepfather, adopted father. Men know men, like I said, whether good or predatory. They grew up around each other, with each other, whether it's in school and locker rooms, with cousins, with their own friends in colleges, at the workplace, at the job site, wherever the location, at the gym. Men know men. They know what is being said behind closed doors. They know how they think. They have the same hormones running through their bodies. They know how they feel about situations. They know what's right, what's wrong. Some of them may be lacking tons of empathy and compassion for women and children and even fellow men. but they know men. And some women also claim that, well, we know men as well. I grew up with tons of brothers, or I grew up around my uncles, or I grew up with guys at school or at work, and I know what they talk about. But I'm talking about men knowing men in private, like incognito privates, okay? Because unless you have the brain of a man or the chemicals of a man, you still are not on that, that other level. So what I'm trying to say here to you today is that your father failed you. If you're settling for abuse, if you're settling for mistreatment, whether verbal, physical, intimately, financially, psychologically, emotional, whatever the case, if you're settling for it, and if you don't even know that you're settling for it, if you think that's normal, then your community, the community you grew up in, your surroundings, your environment has failed you. And this always stems back to your father failing you because he allowed you to grow up in that community, whether it's because of his financial situation or him feeling that he is stuck because of his own limitations, that he could not take you or your siblings out of the situation, or you alone or your mother out of the situation. Or if you don't know your mother or have a mother, or she may have left or passed away, my condolences. And also my condolences if your father has also passed away. Your father have still been responsible for you having to live and grow up in that environment that made it seem normal and comfortable to be abused in any of the ways I listed already. And if your father raised you through your teenage years or your young adult years, yes, he failed you. If your father was locked up in jail or passed away before you became an adult, let's say past 25, 30s, he still had the opportunity in your teens and your young adult life to train you as to where to go, what to avoid, who to look out for. And some people may also defend their father continuously, no matter what I say, and claim that, well, it was my mother, right, who was the problem, who wrecked me, who brought pain into my life, who caused dysfunction, who caused my father to run away, who allowed abuse to enter into my life, or who brought abuse into my life. But your mother conceived you with somebody. Whoever your mother conceived you with also failed you. And it had to be a man. Outside of immaculate conception, or unless your mother went to a donor place where she would have to get a sperm that's from a man. So if your father chose your mother, or your mother chose a sperm donor, you did not have a man there to teach you the way. He chose your mother. If your father found out late that your mother was not the right person to raise children, he found out late. And that's what you had to deal with that mother. But then after he found out, because he's going to find out whether he's the predator or the mother was the predator, he should step in to protect you because he chose the predator. He chose that person to have children with and to raise you and your siblings or yourself and get you out of danger. Where was he? Did he take you out of the danger? Was he not available? Did he commit offenses or crimes that caused him not to be there, whether he passed away from the crimes or was arrested and jailed for decades because of the crimes? He couldn't be there to protect you. He couldn't be there to protect you from others who tormented you. Because trust and believe, yes, women can be abusers as well. It may be on the lower percentage or end of, the predatory scale, but it does exist. And it is rampant, but generally speaking, it is of the other gender that's on the higher end of the atrocities. Now, this is nothing against the male gender. It's nothing against men, generally speaking. This is about fathers who did not train their daughters, who did not protect their daughters, who did not vet the men that their daughters were dating, whether in high school, whether in college, whether in young adult life or much older. If your father is still alive, he still has the responsibility of helping you vet. Now, unless he has some other medical condition that causes him not to be able to speak or think clearly, you know, cognitive disease or disability or whatever the case, there's ways to connect to your father to know. And many of our fathers who run away, or who, if you grew up in a two-parent household, just because you grew up in a two-parent household don't mean that you had a good life. If your father did nothing, did not talk to you about the birds and the bees, did not talk to you about what you value, what to value, your worth. He did not help advance your confidence or sustain your or maintain your self-confidence or esteem or the way you see yourself. He is the first male connection that you had in this life, next to the doctors and other medical personnel that, brought you into this world, that were male. If you were brought into this world in a medical facility or hospital. I know a lot of people were born at home or in some other location, maybe by, a natural birthplace or something like that. But your father is responsible. And if your father, like I said, was jailed or passed away, there are other men who could have stepped in. There's uncles, right, who could have stepped in. There are adult cousins or older cousins who could have protected you or stepped in or taught you the way, how to protect yourself, or actually physically protect you or emotionally protect you, or talk to you or ask you questions. There are other mentors. There are male family friends. There's pastors. There's male teachers. There's so many people who can become involved in your life and steer you in the proper direction. But ultimately, it's not their responsibility. Ultimately, it's the father's leadership that's supposed to be there. But they failed you miserably. Because trust and believe, you may know of these people. They're women and men in healthy relationships. They know the signs to look out for at a very young age. Okay, and if their mother taught them, it's because she had to go through either her own abuses, struggles, okay, difficulties in relationships to learn the hard way and triumphs and survive, or her father taught her the right way and she had a good mentor and leader in her life to teach you. But ultimately, if you didn't have that, if you didn't have a father, if you didn't have uncles or other male positive role models in your life to show you the way, it's not all your fault. Yes, you got to take responsibility as an adult because no one else is going to save you from your situation. You have to save yourself. You have to save your children if you have children. But know that your father failed you, and what your duty is now is to provide the healthy life that you were not offered or privileged or provided. Provide the healthy future, the healthy mindset to your children that you did not have, or that you were not privy to enjoy or participate in or relish in or have the luxury to lavish in. Maybe if your father is still alive, you can have a talk, have an intimate chat with your father. Let him know how you feel. Ask him questions. Dad, why didn't you talk to me as a young adult, as a teen, about what I'm going to face in dating? Because if your father didn't talk to you about what you're about to face in dating, he just let you walk into that crapshoot, or should we say, let you walk out into the world like a crash dummy, knowing that they're coming for you. And you may say, well, I grew up in a tough neighborhood. I know how men are. I know how boys are. I can handle them. You shouldn't have to handle them. Your femininity, your feminine side should be allowed to naturally be blossom, to be expressed, to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel serenity, tranquility, harmony in your life. That's what a great dad does. So think deeply about it. If you don't have children yet, make sure you know who you are or plan on having your children with, because that's going to affect the future of your children, your future children. If you currently have children in a bad situation, you have to find the way out. I'm going to leave my email in the description area. If there are women on here who want to share their story about how their dad was not there, where he was, what she had suffered briefly, you can share that in an email, whether it's a paragraph or two. I'd really like it. I would do my best to get back to as many as I possibly can to understand more. If I don't get back to you, I would apologize or get back to you at my earliest convenience in the future, in some way, shape, or form. It may be in the form of a gift. Who knows? So I wanted to share this with you today. I feel it's important that you take some of that burden off of yourself. Take that weight off yourself. Get rid of that confusion as to what did you do wrong? Why you? Where did you go wrong? You know, there's a lot of factors involved. This is multifaceted. That's why I'm making this video, to let you know. Okay? It did not begin with you. And you may say, or some people may defend you and say, well, your father didn't know, or your mother didn't know. No, because someone failed them. That's why. And the failure continues, but the failure can stop with you. It can stop with your daughter. It can stop with your sons. It can stop with you. You got to be active, proactive. You got to open your mouth, unlike the way your father did, or whoever were your mentors in your life. That's what I wanted to share with you today. Thanks. Check out the description area. Continue to love yourself and those you care about. Until the next one, talk to you then. Bye. Davvy out.